Good late Thursday, early Friday. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving you a look at the infrared satellite imagery. Starting off on a shot we don't start off on too many times here, Roy, out of the year. But the reason I'm doing so is because we have an area of disturbed weather here that's headed in the general direction of our region. You see these different model guidance indications here, these different D indications, and right now, the overall thinking is that this will be kind of moving across the area later on that Friday as we're looking toward the first coast there, maybe off of like Nassau County now. That would be a little bit later on Friday. Seems like the timeline's been pushed back just a little bit, and it's also been nudged a little bit more northerly here. So that's something we'll kind of keep our eyes on as we're looking at things as we give you the latest. But hurricane season kind of starting to get going. Nothing to hype up per se, but if we were to get some tropical storm warnings for our area, we'd have to escalate coverage, and that's not completely out of the question. At the last check, the National Hurricane Center now with a 50-50 chance of this developing into something tropical. It may just be a depression, may not actually get the alerts. In that case, if the winds aren't up to 40 miles an hour, or really 39 sustained, which round to 40, if it did get named, it'd be called Beryl. Ironically, in 2012, pretty similar area in our viewing region here, seeing that landfall from a system named Beryl back then. It was almost a hurricane. This wouldn't be as strong. It would have less of a footprint here, but it's something to watch. I know there's temperatures there. 72 Gainesville right now, 70 around Lake City. We're actually down to 68 here east of Stark, believe it or not. So kind of interesting there. But then St. Augustine's at 80. So again, watching the infrared satellite here pretty carefully. Just going to try to give you the very latest here on this to protect you, your friends, and your family. I know, but just watching this very carefully here overall. I'm just going to kind of look at a couple things real quick because there are some showers that are kind of coming into the picture across central Florida right now. So let me go ahead and go to a different picture. You can kind of see here as we're looking toward like Brevard County, and like we do have some scattered downpours here. And we'll see an increase in rain chances across our area on that Friday. So that's definitely something to keep our eyes on here as the situation does evolve. I know sometimes you can look at infrared satellite over the last 4 hours or so, and that can kind of give an indication on trends as well. So let's go ahead and touch back over there, and you can see in the Hurricane Hunters right earlier, that's what was popping up there. They were trying to get an idea on what was going on with this, but you can see it looks like the overall more convective type weather is expanding, but the cloud tops aren't as cold, so maybe not quite as intensive activity. But if it can get that wrapped around its center, it'd be a tropical depression. It's not like we're expecting this to become a hurricane or anything. So the standard isn't all that high. It's just enough to get that tropical designation here. And if it has that with 35-mile-an-hour winds or so, maybe even 30, you'd have a tropical depression. But then if you get to 39, 40 miles an hour, then it gets a name, and that'd be Beryl. So interesting to keep in mind here. And no, this is just a sign of things to come with an increase in moisture, though. Not necessarily, this isn't going to be something that really, too big of a deal around here. We're going to have direct current risk and the like, but not too big of a deal, but it's going to kind of help to increase moisture here in the overall pattern. So that's definitely something to kind of keep our eyes on here in that regard. I know I'm waiting for the latest update from the Hurricane Center in Miami to see if they increase the probabilities on this. But if we have that come out here during this update, I'll pass that along to you. But I know Alberto, we're watching that. It made landfall in Mexico. They did have some showers in Texas, some spinner tornadic activity. Nothing too major, though, as we were looking at things overall with that. It's a pretty big system overall. A pretty big footprint there to have landfall pretty far down in Mexico, but it impacts well into Texas. Just the overall pattern even had coastal flooding extending in Louisiana. So interesting for a lower end tropical storm, but this would be really, just based on the pressure, it'd be quite a bit weaker than that would, even though the winds are pretty weak with that. The pressure was decently low for a tropical storm out there, but again, this is a local story here, so that's why we're watching it. We have to escalate coverage, turn the logo right up, we get a tropical storm warning, but right now that has not happened, so we're not going to do that here at this point, really. We're going a little bit more in depth tonight, but you can see here, just kind of look where the Ds are, indicating maybe a tropical depression, maybe not. That's not exactly what that indicates, but it indicates an area of low pressure. And invest here at this point and just kind of extrapolate that thunderstorm activity out. And if those stay in a similar track, then that might be more of a southeast Georgia thing than what the models have been picking up on. But kind of depends on the organization. And you see some stuff in Central Florida that's kind of developed that we're seeing on Doppler radar. So we'll see here if this kind of really increases in organization before a potential landfall or not. And we'll be here to give you the latest as it is warranted. And we'll watch for a very low end chance of a quick spin up tornado across the area on that Friday. It's not really standing out right now, but again, if something changes, I'll let you know. So, not a huge deal. As I go ahead and go over to the graphics, let's go ahead and pop up tropical climatology. Start to have these probabilities of systems increase here as we get closer to July. Especially in July and August, late August, early October is where we really pinpoint things. And that the probabilities are the highest, especially for those hurricanes, which we're expecting a lot of in the basin. It's just a matter of which way they head. I know in this pattern, this is kind of heading in our direction. Hopefully, by the time we have stronger systems out there, they're not heading in our direction. But we shall see. Not completely out of the question. As we're looking at things, it's definitely a chance here. As we're looking that we have some of those systems, there's definitely a chance that they head our way in some regard. So we're going to be having to pay attention. You can see Alberto crossed off the list. Beryl's the next name, then Chris and Debbie. And then we'll go ahead and show you, though, our rainfall forecast for the next 7 days. As you're looking towards, areas there around, according to this, at least, and this from a few hours ago, honestly, I think it's kind of shifted a little, but this is what the Weather Prediction Center had. The bulk of the rain toward, Putnam and Flagler and St. John's. But this is over the next 7 days. Keep that in mind too, that some of this is going to be rain next week. We're just going to have an overall increase in moisture across our region. So that's going to already be a storyline anyway, outside of the tropical moisture that's kind of at the forefront here right now. So that's something to keep in mind. But we're just going to keep looking at things that on average. So it's like around Stark here, almost about looks like 2 inches or so of rain. So I know you can go to clutter.com/radar for an interactive look at things when we're not on the air. And then here's the covered area, the 62 counties. Of course, I'm in Bradford County, and then there's the 62 counties here across our area. Just to trying to give you the very latest here. If we have any tornado warning storms, we'll break in, of course, and beyond. The latest. We've done that for every single one that's moved through these counties since late 2019. So trying to keep you safe and informed. Now, a different type of topic real quick here. My Seminoles and also those Gators are both falling in defeat there in the college baseball World Series. Their semifinals in Omaha on Wednesday. FSU finished there on Friday night. It was controversial, and they were so close to being in that winner's bracket, being in a better spot for pitching there. And then Florida, their finish against A&M the first time around, it was a close one. Could have went either way. Even some interesting calls in that one that at least had maybe some impact. So, again, both teams there losing. I have FSU at number 3 because they had a great season overall. Florida's season was not all that good, but they got in and made it to the last 4. But FSU did beat Florida head-to-head 3 times this season. North Carolina, overall body of work. That's why I put them ahead of Florida. And then Clemson, I know they lost to Florida before they got to Omaha. But they had a really good season, beat FSU all 3 times even. And then Kentucky there, you can see, looking at this, they were higher up earlier on, but did lose to Florida in a blowout fashion to be eliminated there on that Wednesday in the early afternoon hours. We'll see what happens with that final between Tennessee and Texas A&M. I know neither one's ever won the title there in baseball. I believe that's the case, and as we're looking at that, I know we'll see. Hopefully, just a lot of folks I know probably rooting for Texas A&M in that one. Just kind of, just overall based on how that FSU Tennessee series was going there last Friday. So again, Texas A&M, if they were to get blown out in both games against Tennessee, then maybe you move up FSU to number 2. But Not too big of an overall, but still probably FSU more than likely be number 3 in the final rankings, which would be the best they've been in over 2 decades. So that's not too bad for Link Jarrett's second year. Let's go ahead and now see that planning forecast. You can see 70% chance of rain now on that Friday. I know just kind of giving you guys an idea of what's going on here. We're going to be watching the tropics, obviously, and giving you the very latest on that situation in case something does develop. 60% on that Saturday, 60% Sunday, 60% on Monday there, 70% on Tuesday. So you see the moisture sticking around despite not having a tropical system or possibly a tropical system around. Again, it may not actually become tropical, but you can kind of get the idea here. Moisture pattern here. That's what we're kind of tracking. It's gonna be wetter around here, as you see. 92 on that Friday, 93 Saturday, 94 Sunday, 95 Monday. So warming up some. Maybe have more of those pop-up storms here that get a little bit stronger. We South Sea might have to break in for those for, more organized severe thunderstorm warnings, or even the outside chance of a quick spin-up tornado. As we look at things, you see those low to mid 70s in the morning hours, above average temperatures overall here, still staying the story. So I know it's been dry around. We need that rain. I'm going to check to see if there's any questions or comments from any of the viewers at home as we're checking right now, and not really seeing anything. Okay, they just come out here with some new information. The Hurricane Center just came out with the 2 a.m. update here. So let's see what we have. Okay, staying at 50% now on those probabilities. Another system in the Gulf could develop, 60% chance there, but that's not something we need to really worry about toward our region. Let me go ahead and kind of pull some things up here. I know. Let me go ahead and jump back on over out of the graphics mode. So the newest update, I'll go ahead and kind of read it from the National Hurricane Center there in Miami. It's Invest 92L. A small but concentrated area of showered and thunderstorms persist with an area of low pressure located around 225 miles east of Jacksonville, Florida. However, it is unclear if the system possesses a well-defined surface circulation. Environmental conditions remain marginally conducive for some additional development, and the system could become a short-lived tropical depression as the low moves west-northwestward at 10 to 15 miles an hour. The system is expected to approach the northeastern coast of Florida here, or Georgia, that coast later today, and interest there should monitor the progress of the system. An Air Force Reserve aircraft is scheduled to investigate it here later this morning if necessary. So, so we could all of a sudden get an upgrade here. It's not out of the question. And we'll be giving you the latest here on the different platforms as it is necessary. So, again, just trying to give you the very latest. Facebook, KC Cloud WX, Clouds Weather, Twitter /X at Cloud KC, YouTube at Clouds Weather, Twitch Cloud Weather, and then cloudweather.com. So, giving you the latest. That's the area we're watching here. That blob, per se, off the east coast of Florida is headed into this general direction here, but have to see if it organizes. And just kind of get its act together into becoming a depression and or a named storm. So we'll be giving you the updates here as it is warranted. I think that's going to do it for now, though. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for trusting me here in the Weather Center. Again, just trying to watch the overall scenario here as this does get a little bit closer toward our area. It's definitely worth noting here. It's definitely worth a watching. And that's exactly what we're going to do. You see those latest infrared satellite updates coming on in there. And we're just going to kind of watch the progress of this here as the scenario does evolve. But for now, have a great night.